let's dive into one of the most powerful novels ever written, Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird. We're going to unpack its message, get into the words that shape its world, and look at the one single trial that really puts an entire town's conscience to the test.
You know, everything in this story really boils down to this one line from Atticus Finch. Mockingbirds, he explains, don't do anything but make beautiful music. To kill one is just a senseless, cruel act. And that idea, protecting the innocent, is basically the moral compass for the entire book.
So, with that big idea in mind, what's the core message of this story? Let's get right to it. At its heart, this is a story about a lawyer, Atticus Finch, who takes on a case that nobody else wants to touch. He stands up to defend Tom Robinson, a black man who's been falsely accused of a horrible crime. And through it all, he's teaching his kids, and all of us, really, about what empathy and justice truly mean. And yeah, the ending is tough, but it leaves us with this little, tiny glimmer of hope that things can get better. Okay, to really get this story, we've got to look at its building blocks. We're going to look at 12 words that are absolutely key. Now, think of this not as a vocabulary list, but as the DNA of the story's main conflict, starting with the most important value of all, which is being empathetic. This is what Atticus is always drilling into his children. You have to try and see the world from someone else's point of view. It's a lesson that is about to be put to the ultimate test by one brutal accusation. And that accusation is assault. This is the crime that Tom Robinson is charged with. This single claim is like a match that lights the fuse of the town's prejudice, forcing everyone to pick a side. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. The town already looks down on the family making the accusation, the Yules. People pretty much despise them. So the big question becomes, what's stronger? Their social scorn for this family, or their deep-seated racial bias? The whole trial becomes this battle of stories, and it all hinges on testimony. The jury hears two completely different versions of what went down, and literally everything is riding on which story they choose to believe. When it comes to the physical evidence, it all boils down to one simple thing: a bruise. The location of the bruises on Mayella Yule becomes this silent witness in the case, and it strongly suggests that her attacker was left-handed. And this leads to such a genius moment in the courtroom. Atticus simply asks Mayella's father, Bob Yule, to write his name. It's a simple, instinctive move. And just like that, he reveals to everyone in the room that he's left-handed. So you might be asking, why lie when the logic is so clear? Well, for the Yules, it's all about their reputation. The entire story is a desperate lie to protect Mayella from the shame of having made advances on a black man, which was a major taboo. But here's the heartbreaking truth. Logic is no match for prejudice. When the jury comes back with a guilty verdict, it sends Tom Robinson into a state of total despair. It just robs him of any belief that he could get justice from the system. And you can't blame him for feeling that way. I mean, look at the system he was up against. It was designed to dominate. The judge, the lawyers, the all-white jury. It was an institution that was just never built to give a man like him a fair shot. And the ripple effects of this injustice don't stop with Tom. This verdict will absolutely devastate Atticus's kids.
It just shatters their childhood innocence and their belief that the world is a fair place. And yet, Atticus finds a little sliver of light in all the darkness. The fact that the jury took hours to deliberate, to actually talk about the evidence, that was, in its own way, a small revolution. In a case that should have been an open and shut conviction, they actually paused. Which brings us to our final word, verdict. Even though the official decision was guilty, that pause, that deliberation, it complicates things. It suggests that even when the outcome seems certain, the seeds of change can start to grow.
Okay, so we have all our building blocks. Now let's put them all into action and walk through the absolute centerpiece of this novel, the trial of Tom Robinson. So the scene is set. It's Macomb, Alabama, right in the middle of the Great Depression. Atticus Finch, who's basically a pillar of the community, is given the job of defending Tom Robinson, and the accuser is Mayella Ewell, a young woman from the town's most looked-down-upon white family. The trial really comes down to two totally different stories. The Ewell story is that Tom attacked Mayella, simple as that. But Tom's testimony, it paints a completely different picture. He says that she was the one who made advances on him, and her father saw it and just flew into a rage. And this is just a brilliant example of logic versus prejudice. The evidence is undeniable. The bruises on Mayella point to a left-handed attacker. Tom's left arm is useless because of an old injury. But Mr. Ewell? Oh yeah, he's a lefty. The facts all point to one logical conclusion. But in the end, the logic and the evidence just don't matter. The all-white jury finds Tom Robinson guilty. Overcome with despair, Tom tries to escape from prison and he's shot and killed. This outcome just completely shatters the innocence of Atticus's children, Jem and Scout. They're devastated. So, after all that tragedy, you might think the story just leaves us in darkness, but it doesn't. Let's bring it all together and really understand that final, crucial message of hope. So, to recap it all, Atticus Finch stands up against his town's prejudice to defend an innocent black man, Tom Robinson. The evidence makes it crystal clear that Tom is innocent, and that the accuser's own father was probably the one who hurt her. But in the face of all that racism, the jury convicts Tom anyway, which leads to his tragic death. His kids are heartbroken by the injustice, but Atticus, he finds a small win. The jury deliberated for hours. They hesitated. For him, that hesitation is the beginning of a conscience, a slow, painful, but very real step toward change. And that leaves us with a pretty big question to think about. I mean, this book was set in the 1930s, but its central message is absolutely timeless. So it's worth asking ourselves, in our world today, in our own communities, who are the innocent, the vulnerable? Who are the mockingbirds that we have a duty to protect?
Join Beyond Norm's output training to master English speaking and writing. Click the link below to get started.